evening, everyone. Welcome to the Light Gate. We are coming to you live from New Orleans in the beautiful city of, or state of Louisiana, actually. United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we're on YouTube. We are in pre-record right now, which means we are not going to be seeing you all in chat while we're recording this, but we will be in chat with you while we are live. And so Preston and I would like to bid you welcome and hi to some of our special friends. You go, Preston. Let's call them out.
Yes, I just want to give a special shout out to our sponsor, Carnation. Thank you so much. We love you. And I know our audience loves you guys too. So thank you for supporting us. We truly appreciate it. And thank you, Dolly, for bringing us in. I'm so excited about our guest tonight, a repeat guest. And as Dolly said, this is a pre-record. I, of course, am your host, Preston Dennett. My lovely co-host is Dolly Saffron, subject of the book Symmetry. Like I keep saying, we're working on that sequel, and I'm working hard. I actually made some progress this week, amazingly enough. Just had some major computer issues, but we apparently got those solved, so that's always fun. And yeah, super excited, really, to be able to interact with you guys in chat. But this is episode 119, so we're moving right along. I'm guessing that some of you regulars are in there. I've got a little list I put down, and I know I'm going to miss some of you guys, but I'm hoping I see that Peak is in here tonight, or Patsy, Bob Thorson, sure, namaste. We can always count on you. We love you so much. Thank you for joining us. I'm presuming Teresa, maybe, Kaleidoscope Eyes, the Owl Man, Brian, you're often here, Polly, Michael. There's a bunch of you guys who are regulars. We love you so much. So thank you for joining us. And anyone who's new, welcome. We are absolutely honored to have you too. But this is a pre-record, so I'm just going to get directly to our guest, who is, of course, the amazing, the unique, the unbelievable Dave Scott. We love him so much. He is, of course, most famous for Spaced Out Radio. He is a paranormal and Bigfoot experiencer. I'm going to call him a researcher and more. He is the creator and host of Canada's very popular Spaced Out Radio, running Monday through Friday nights at spacedoutradio.com. Both Dolly and I have had the wonderful honor of being guests on his show. Dave is a former radio journalist, graduated with a diploma in broadcast communications from one of Canada's top broadcasting schools, BCIT, way back in 1998. How that got to be almost 30 years ago, I don't know, but time marches on. Dave then spent nearly 10 years in radio, mostly working in sports, before leaving the field to pursue other interests. Dave's personal quest into the unknown started in December of 2011, when he had contact with what he calls the angel of death that he saw in his mother's eyes, which led to his first channeling experience. After this incident, Dave's personal experiences started to become much more frequent. Paranormal experiences, premonitions, a Bigfoot sighting with two creatures within 100 feet of him, UFOs appearing almost anytime he wanted, even though Dave had no idea what, quote, summoning was. Personal sightings of 5 ET species, one who he's nicknamed Carl. I love that. Then on November 30th, 2014, Dave launched Spaced Out Radio. Dave's near decade as a journalist helped him craft his style of interview, making it comfortable and personal for his guests and listeners alike. And I can personally attest to that. I absolutely love doing his show. Dave looks at himself as one of the only trained and experienced radio journalists who is also a multiple experiencer of the unknown. You can join Dave live from 9 p.m. to midnight Pacific every weeknight on Spaced Out Radio. So tonight we're going to be talking about a subject that we haven't had the opportunity to explore in much depth, and that is the mystery of Flight 21, and of course wherever the conversation takes us. But yeah, what an honor to have Dave on tonight. I'm just gonna pop him in.
Hi, Dave.
Hi guys, how are you?
We're really good. you for bearing with us tonight. You're a trooper. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I could not log into my computer. It was doing the weirdest things you've ever seen. And then we got it running and then couldn't get into Chrome. Computers. What are you going to do?
Right? I know. They are going to be the death knell of us one day.
Mm.
Yeah. AI is going to take over one day and we're all just going to have to obey the robot overlords.
Well, it's good to see you guys and to chat with you guys again. I always love your company. I love it when you two are on my show. I know my audience loves it. You're both so brilliant and knowledgeable. And so thank you for returning the favor and asking me to come on your show. And I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love the stuff that you're doing. I catch you at night. I don't sleep a lot anyway, so I'll turn your show on and just watch you quietly, and your latest news has been really interesting to me. And I thought, I'm going to call Dave. And then when I did, you said, guess what? I got something going on. And I was like, yay. And that's why we asked you to come on again. It's about time anyway. So I'm just going to let you start us off and let us know what's happening.
Well, I found a new passion, and it's something that I'm not used to because I've never, ever considered myself to be a researcher. I still don't. I
know I stuck that in there because
I look at researchers, I look at people like Preston, I look at people like Grant Cameron or Richard Dolan in that type of ilk and that type of esteem, whereas somebody like me, I've only ever really reported on the stories that kind of go on. It's the journalistic side of me, but I started really focusing in this year with one of my best friends. His name's Tim James, and if you watch Spaced Out Radio, you'll know him from the UFO report that we do 3 times a week at night. And Tim and I have embarked on this incredible journey of the unknown that we call Flight 21. And this is an area historically that is, how can I put it? It has everything that you would want in a paranormal supernatural place. And it's something that caught my attention back in 2018. And I've never really done much with it up there up until the last couple of years. But it is something that is a homegrown passion of mine, kind of changing the idea of being an enthusiast into being a researcher, because it is something that is, and when I say researcher, I want to preface this, amateur researcher, and that's important. That's important to me. Okay, because I'm not out there trying to be a scholar. I'm not out there reading books or testimony or anything along those lines. And neither is Tim. And we're just kind of running with this because the phenomena, Dolly, you'll understand when I say this. The phenomena asked me to do it.
Okay, I understand.
And it's opened my eyes up to a whole bunch of different experiences. Some of them I like, some of them I have not enjoyed. And what we're doing is we're putting it all on tape. Do people still say that?
Yes.
Putting it on tape. We're putting it all on tape in order to record what's happening and what we're doing in the field. I guess you guys are going to want some history about this area to get a little bit more familiarized.
Yeah, I did a little bit of my homework, so.
Well, I knew you would. I totally knew you would.
I am a researcher, but your boots on the ground. That's research, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, amateur research in this category, my friend.
Okay.
I haven't, and I'll be honest with you, this will be the first interview that I have ever done on Flight 21.
Oh, wow. How about that?
I spoke about Flight 21 at the Nebraska Bigfoot conference this past April. And this place is one of the scariest places I've ever been, because you never know what's going to happen. So let's stop the buildup and I'll just get right to it. Okay. Let's go back in history exactly 60 years ago, where an airplane, an old DC-6 airplane that used to be a part of the now defunct Canadian Pacific Airways, was taking off from Vancouver and doing a milk run up to Whitehorse, Yukon to deliver people. And on that plane, there was somebody on that plane, for one reason or another, who had a bomb on it. Now, this was not a terrorist type of incident, but to this day,
a copy of the plane, not the actual plane, but this is the type of plane.
Yes,
yeah.
That's exactly what it looked like. And to this day, Flight 21 is Canada's largest unsolved mass murder. One of the theories that the RCMP, the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, believe is that they have 4 suspects. They all died on the plane. The one story that seems to make the most sounds logical to me was that a man and a woman were getting divorced. He didn't want to leave her, built a bomb, put it on a briefcase, and when they got home to the Yukon or wherever they were going, he was going to blow them up. Okay? And the bomb went off in the plane's bathroom, and 52 people perished that day. There were children, there were elderly, there were people in their middle ages. All sorts of people were on that flight. And that plane crash happened about 40 kilometers or 25, 30 miles from my home. And so in 2018, we did what we believe was the first ever paranormal investigation out there. And that was a little interesting. So my buddy Merle, I know you've seen him on the show many a times, Dolly and Preston. He came up here and he's like, dude, I really want to investigate that crash site. I'm not a paranormal investigator. I go along because I find it interesting. You know, and if I can help out, I'll help out. What the hell? And all of a sudden, after about 90 minutes of investigation there, Merle says, hey, if we take one of these deer trails, is there any more crash debris around here? I said, well, we don't know. So we took this deer trail into and through these trees and ended up opening up into a meadow. And we're standing in the meadow, and our armed guard, Mark, another good friend of ours, was standing there. And we walked into the meadow probably 30 yards. And all of a sudden, we heard a voice talking to us. And it was real grumbly, like, just like that. So we're in there thinking that this is going to be some sort of paranormal experience, not even thinking anything else. We walk back to the place where we kind of call it now base camp, which is like a cul-de-sac inside the area where crash retrieval, where people would kind of turn around their vehicles during the crash retrieval of the not rescue, but the remains of everything that was going on. And it apparently back then it was really grotesque. They didn't even have at that time any logging roads going into that area. Mm-hmm. So it took them about 4 or 5 days to press through the heavily wooded forest from our town in order to try and locate this crash site, which they were able to do eventually. And I heard, you hear stories from people, in town, and I had somebody who listens to my show in my town say her husband said his grandfather was actually one of the recovery people. And he said, like, walking into the crash site, there were body parts everywhere. And the most disgusting one I heard was when he said that he literally walked up to this one tree and there was intestines wrapped
Yeah.
around the tree like a chain.
Yeah.
And he, that's where he kind of said, I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
It was horrific. I mean, so excuse me, going back to 2018, when we had that incident, we all of a sudden went back to the area where there was a piece of landing gear. Merle kind of pieced off and said, I'm just going to try and get some EVPs or whatever around here. And that was kind of by the start of the forest. And then our buddy Mark, who is our armed guard in there, he walked in there into the recovery or into the what we call base camp now. He walked in there, and I was kind of in the middle on this little knoll. And all of a sudden, Merle gets scared out of there because there was something shaking the trees, and we're thinking bear. So I want to preface this area, okay? Where I live, for people who don't know, I live literally almost in central British Columbia. And I live in an area of a town of about 2,000 people.
That's awesome.
Majority of people in our town have never been to the crash site, even if they've lived here 40, 50 years.
Wow.
They don't even know where it is. They just know it's out there somewhere. And it's a very desolate, remote area in the middle of the forest. And if you look at a map of British Columbia, it is very large. It is very dense. British Columbia is a population of about 5.5, 6 million people, with about 4.5 million, 5 million of those people living in the greater Vancouver area and the suburbs that spread out around it. Well, I'm right away from those people because one of the best moves I ever made a decade ago was moving up here away from the city to get away from everything. But I'll tell you, I do miss certain things about it. Can't really buy a pair of shoes in my town, Yeah. So when I say we're in the middle of the forest, we're in the middle of the forest. There aren't people around.
Well, this is why you had an armed guard, right? Because of
Right.
Well, and that's the point I was getting at. When we go into the forests here, we do go in armed. In my area, we have grizzly bears, we have black bears, we have world record mountain lions, we have giant moose.
Yeah.
And moose, people don't think of moose as a killer, but a moose will kill more people than a bear will.
Yeah,
We have wolf packs. We have everything if you look at the level of wild animals, predatory animals in North America.
Yeah.
We have them all here. We aren't missing one.
Yeah. Okay. And don't forget Bigfoot. You're kind of the Bigfoot capital of the world.
Well, and that's where this is kind of going. So at that time, or like I said, even to this day, we go into that area armed because you never know what is going to happen. You never know when something is going to come out of the trees. And if people want to have a little peek at it, I recommend people go, shameless plug here, go to my YouTube channel and just scroll down on the video section to where it says Secrets of the Forest. And we've got 5 videos up there. We just cut our 6th video, and we're waiting for that to happen, to get edited and everything like that. So going back,
when you go out there, this is not like a day hike then. This is something that takes days to get to.
No, it takes about, from my town, it takes about an hour to get out there.
Oh,
okay. But the beautiful part about it is you would drive right by the road or the trail to get in there if you didn't know it was there.
Okay.
And so I'm gonna talk metric here for a second, because I know the majority of your listeners are in the U.S. and you're in the U.S. here for a second. But from our area where we start to get onto the logging road and we cross this cattle guard, it is about 35 kilometers into the forest. Okay. Then you find the road that you have to turn off And it's weird because there's these certain people out in our community who recently have been trying to make it a tourist attraction,
Ew.
which is, I think, absolutely unnecessary. That's for a different topic. But normally what happens is you go 35 kilometers into the forest. You then find the trail that it's on. You travel that trail for about 3-4 kilometers, and your maximum speed on that trail will be about 8 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour. It's not made for vehicles. It's more made for motorbikes or ATVs. I have a Jeep, so my Jeep can handle it. And then you go right to
kilometers is going to be about 15 miles. I'm estimating, just for those who wonder what a kilometer is.
Yeah, well,
0.6 of a mile. So I'm doing a rough mental calculation. Should probably look that.
It's
up.
about 22 miles.
Oh, okay.
It's about 22 miles.
Yeah.
All right. But
And
that takes all day to walk. Easy. I mean, you can't really walk 20 miles in a day unless you're not through the forest.
no, but the point with this is it's in a very secure place. It's not on a high travel area, and it's far enough out of town where it's away from the lakes. It's away from everything where it is pretty secure. It really is pretty secure. So when we go in there, we have to go in armed, obviously, because of the wild animals. And, one of the first things that we do when we go in there is we end up giving a little speech. We never do it on camera because it's not really for show, but we kind of just talk to the spirits and the phenomena that's out there. And we just say, hey, we are armed. However, this is for any predatory animals out there that might want to harm us. If we see a Sasquatch, if we see an alien or a UFO or a ghost or a dogman or whatever, we will not raise our what we call pointy sticks up to you. Okay, we will not do that. So we remind them that we're here out of peace and love, man. We know this is a sacred area. We respect that area. We burn tobacco when we get there as a peace offering. And we really do you want some of my water there?
I know. I'm trying to drink mine and not helping me at all. Go ahead.
So we really try to tell the phenomena and the spirits there that we're not there to disturb them, and when they want us to leave, we'll leave. So going back to 2018, that first incident, we ended up getting kind of pushed out. We didn't know what it was, but we kind of had an inkling that it was something paranormal and potentially Sasquatch. My friend Mark, who is our armed guard, and his name will come up a little bit later too. He is somebody he has been a hunting guide. He has been an animal tracker. He has tracked bears. He has tracked mountain lions. He has tracked wolf packs. He has done everything in the wilderness that you would expect somebody of his professionalism to do. And on that first incident, when Merle had something shaking the trees and grunting at him, and I was kind of in between, Mark was hearing something bipedal, what he claims was bipedal, walking through the trees towards him. And you can tell the difference between something bipedal and four-legged. And the one thing that I'm kind of on a crash course on, because I've never been an outdoorsman. I never went hunting as a kid. Yeah, I went fishing with Dad, but we never went hiking. We never went motorbiking or anything like that. You have to learn your environment. And that's what I've been kind of on a crash course with the last few years. Know your animals, know your footprints, know your sounds, and know your poop.
That's right, because everybody drops it. Yep.
Okay. If you can look at those and tell an old print from a new print, whether it's in mud, dirt, snow, whatever it may be, you're going to be safer.
Right.
If you know their droppings, what does a grizzly bear look like compared to a black bear, compared to an elk, or compared to a deer or a moose or whatever it may be?
Yep.
right? You have to learn this stuff.
Yep.
And so that's kind of the crash course I'm on right now with everything. And trust me, I am the most anti-gun guy you could ever meet up until a few years ago. And now I'm a proud firearms owner. I'm legally registered in Canada to carry firearms, and going into these areas now, I feel much safer than where you are. So if you watch our videos, you will see that we are armed.
Yep.
So it wasn't until going back to 2018, and I know I take a lot of tangents, and I'm sorry about that.
Okay.
It wasn't until about 8 months later when I heard Ronald Moorhead's The Sierra Sounds for about the 15th time, and hearing what they call the samurai chatter, that I realized that's what we were listening to that night. And realizing then that it wasn't a bear stalking us, that it was likely Sasquatch.
Now, could you hear actual words?
No, it was all, we heard it twice, and it was like,
you want to hear something weird? When I heard that Sasquatch screaming its butt off after we had that tornado, that's what it sounded like to me, only screaming louder than that.
Yeah.
Literally. Okay.
They're very vocal, Sasquatch.
Yeah.
They can be, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. So in 2020, we put up a gifting site there. And within a couple weeks, we actually had a little bit of movement. We had a nickel disappear. And a week later, a new nickel was replaced. So we had a 1965 nickel disappear, replaced by a 2019 nickel that was placed on top of a ball that was hanging from a tree.
Now, wait, you put the new nickel in, or the new nickel appeared?
No, whatever it was that traded it, there was a nickel trade.
The 1965 nickel was there, and it disappeared, and then the 2019 nickel showed up. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I don't know if you can see this. 1 second here. Man, let me go back to 2020 on my phone here. 2020, where are you? Oh, that's 2019. Let's go to 2020. So we put up a gifting site, okay? And I'm just going to, hopefully, if you want to expand this here, you can see that in the tree, that's one of those, you go to the dollar store and you get one of those plastic gumball containers.
Yeah.
Looks like a sucker.
Yeah.
That's what we put on there. And one of the things that I had noticed was that, or I'd heard, is that they like toys and they like color. So I figured the purple would do something. And then all of a sudden, we're up there and nothing looks like it's changed. My boy says to me, "Hey, Dad, what's this coin doing on the ball?"
Hey.
Okay.
That's kind of balancing, isn't it?
Well, and I'm trying to be logical, because one of the things that the skeptics always say, and I like skepticism, I do, but the people who call themselves skeptics, the one thing in their armchair quarterback research that they do, because most of them have never been out into a forest ever in their life, is they always are looking for logic. Well, maybe a person put on there. So I'm thinking a person put that on there or whatever, right? And I was talking to Dr. Bob McGuire, friends of yours and mine. I call him Science Bob.
Right.
And he says to me, he goes, "Dave, you're missing the biggest piece of evidence here." I said, "What are you saying, Bob?" Because this here, once again, that's round.
Yeah,
it's round.
How
it's leaning on
there like that. It's kind of, it should be on the top, not hanging off the side almost.
Well, it is hanging off the top, just my camera angle. But here's the thing. Here's the thing with that, though. Okay, is once again, I'll point you to this photo here, where I know it's hard to see on radio, but you can see it's. I've got that ball hanging in the tree. Okay, And here's what Science Bob kind of taught me about that. And that was, would a human put something on something? Okay, let's say I have my cell phone in my hand. Okay, I'm not going to put it on the edge of my fingers because it's going to fall off.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to put it in the palm of my hand so it doesn't fall. Right? I have full grip of it. Whereas if I put it on the edge of my fingers, eventually if I move it, it's going to fall. So with that nickel, it's the same way, where rain, wind, anything passing by, snow, hail, could knock it off.
Dave,
A tree branch, a little twig falling from the tree, broken by a crow, could knock it off.
Dave, how time you were coming in there to see that? How long do you think it was actually sitting there? Maybe they saw you coming and put it there knowing
Could have been. Could have been.
You know, because you're right. There's physics, and it could have fallen off for any reason whatsoever.
Absolutely.
So given time and opportunity, that should have already happened. But if it was still there like that, it had to have just recently been put there.
Absolutely.
So probably saw you walking in.
And I would agree with you.
Yeah.
So normally if we had the setup, we'd have like a little like dollar store basketball kind of in the in the trees there. Okay. We go back the following weekend, and there is now fingerprints. The ball was out of the trees, and there is now fingerprints on the ball.
Oh. Look at that.
What is those fingerprints made of? Mud or?
It was like a grease. It was like and Sasquatch, from people I've talked to in the Sasquatch world, they believe that Sasquatch has really greasy prints. Like handprints, most people don't even realize, like handprints, we are one of the most greasiest creatures out there.
Yeah.
You know, like if you pull that, you've got grease underneath your fingernails, right? So I found that to be very interesting.
Was it in the same place that you left it?
Yes.
So somebody had taken it, played with it, and then put it back.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh. So
that was all in 2020. In 2020, we set up that gifting site. I'd been there a number of times between 2020 and 2023, just kind of checking things out. And then as we had an independent producer, friend of mine who wanted to actually, say, hey, man, like, we may have something here. Because Merle, myself, and my best psychic friend, Samantha Mowat. And have you ever had Samantha on your show?
No. You told us about her, yeah.
Yeah, you need to have Samantha on your show. She's amazing. We decided that we had some locations here in BC that we figured we'd film, and we went out to Flight 21, and it was in 2023, and it was from the time we got there until the time we left, and we shot there for 2 days. It was nonstop action. It was crazy. It was we had UFOs flying over, and I'm not just saying UFOs. I mean, I'm saying, like, I personally summoned in a UFO while doing an experiment called the Estes method. Mm-hmm. I summoned in a UFO. We had ghostly encounters. We had shadow beings pulling down glow sticks from trees. We had a UFO landing. We had it, and that's a weird story. Let me share that one with you. So we decided to go on this trail, and we were wondering what we're going to shoot. And I decided something was just calling me down the trail a little bit. And I stop and I start feeling vibration underneath my feet. Okay. Like literally, and I don't sound this to sound rude here, but literally it felt like somebody put a vibrator in the dirt and I was standing on top of it. And so I called Samantha over and she felt it too. And we called the TV camera over because we had 2 cameramen and a director with us. We called them over and 2 out of the 3 could feel it. The only guy who couldn't feel it was a former Marine who wore his jump boots, and he couldn't feel it through his jump boots.
Yeah.
So we continue on the trail. We go down, and we make a left on the trail. We walk down that trail probably, 60, 70 yards. And way off in the distance, facing west, we hear about I'm going to say a 15 to 20 second one pitch roar. I've never heard that before. It was way off in the distance. Like, it wasn't anything that was close to us. It was way off, but in that area, a lot of ranchers will also free range their cattle. And it scared the hell out of the cattle that were kind of wherever this thing was and then wherever the cattle were between us, because the cattle started going crazy with their mooing. Like, they were scared. Mm-hmm. And when the rest of the team was like, what the hell was that? And I was like, well, welcome to the world of Sasquatch. Because you always want to be the guy who has something catchy to say. You know what I'm saying?
So I mean, you narrowed that down. It's not a bear or anything, or a moose.
No, we had enough. We had enough outdoor people with us to know the difference between what a roar between a bear would sound like or a mountain lion would sound like. It wouldn't sound like a wolf. Moose don't really roar.
What did it sound like? I'm curious because I had that experience as well.
It was just
hard to describe. I know.
It is hard to describe. It was long. It was loud. It was gruff. It was one pitch. Like, it didn't, like if you hear like a cat scream in the air, or a rabbit. If you've never heard a rabbit in distress, that is a scary sound right there. And you think, oh, that's just a rabbit, right? Yeah. But this, like, it started off, it was almost like a siren where all of a sudden it started off, it went one pitch for a length of time, and then it kind of wound down, right? And
that's what impressed me, because I heard a Bigfoot scream twice, and it was probably 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Which is a long time.
It is a long time. That's a lot of lung power.
And no bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, mine have a real high-pitched screech because they chirp usually, but when they try to like growl it out, it's really, really high-pitched. It's really, really high-pitched, and it sounds like, really loud.
Yeah. No, this wasn't high-pitched at all.
Yeah.
This was not high-pitched at all. This was just something that was absolutely petrifying. If you don't mind, I'd like to throw up a map here, because I do have like a generated picture for your viewing audience, and then I'll describe it for your radio audience.
You want to share screen to do it?
If you look at the bottom of the screen right beside me, you'll see the picture is up there.
Oh, okay. Where?
All you got to do is add it in.
Okay.
Oh,
right there. Add it in, Preston.
Just hover your mouse over it, and it'll say add. There you go.
There it is.
So if base camp, just to kind of give you a little bit of a picture, base camp is up in the left-hand corner, and right before the trail, this 90-degree trail that we're taking. So on this picture for the radio audience, there's a red arrow kind of pointing where we're standing. And from that red arrow to base camp is probably 50 yards as the crow flies.
Okay, not far.
Okay. So when the roaring incident happened, on the picture you'll see there's a bunch of trees there, and right at the end of the trees the trail starts to bend to the southwest. That's kind of where we were when the roar happened. So then what happened was we actually started walking back thinking, all right, we've got the roar. Obviously, we got to prepare now for something coming in tonight. Let us go back to base camp. And as we were about to head back to base camp, we're just walking away like nothing, and we hear this deep guttural grrr. And it's coming from our base camp area. And we're thinking, crap,
Nope.
there is, we
Yeah.
have all of our food there, all of our beverages, $30,000 worth of camera equipment there, all of our supplies. This is not good. So we start hustling back, and if you could put that picture up one more time, please, Preston, that would be wonderful. As I'm kind of second. Our armed guard at that time was another friend of mine, Mike, and he is ahead of me. I'm kind of second out of the 7 of us. And we get to right where the arrow's looking. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to look towards base camp to see if I can see any bears walking towards us through the trees. And I noticed something brown, kind of like the shaped like the outside of a number 8,
Mm-hmm.
kind of in the trees about 20 yards from us. And I stop and I said, what the hell is that? I used more profound language at that point.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, what? And I said, that. And I'm pointing at it. And my first reaction before everybody said what was, okay, that's brown. There's no hair. It's standing about 8 feet high. The sun, the way the sun is hitting the top shoulder portion here, it is like what would be, if you considered it to be an animal, it'd be the top left shoulder. But what is the color? Flat. It was matte brown in color, kind of like poop color, to be honest. Okay. And
so is that the
when
brown
the sun
spot on
hit
the map here?
Yes. Yeah. And so what happened was the light hit the top left corner of it. And what makes up the color brown? Well, it's black, yellow, green, white, and a little bit of orange. And those colors started shining through on the top left. And I realized that's metal.
Oh my God.
It's about 7:45 in the evening as this is happening. Okay. The sun in our area is not even close to setting. Okay, we're doing this at the end of June, and at the end of June, because solstice is around June 20th, at the end of June, it's usually sunny. You can see the sun setting at about 10:45 p.m., 11 p.m. at night. Okay. The beauty of living north is you get long days and very long in the summer and very long days in the winter.
Right.
So I realized at this point, I'm not looking at a Sasquatch, but I'm looking at something metallic. The 6 other people that I am pointing at this thing to cannot see it. But they see something walking through the trees of aliens. They see grays, 5 to 6 foot grays walking through the trees. And the funny part about it is, all 6 of them saw aliens. I did not.
Wow. Okay.
So I saw the craft. They did not. They saw the aliens walking through the trees. I did not. So as stupid as this story and unbelievable as this story may sound, I swear on my children's lives, I swear on a Bible or whatever religious text you believe in, we were warned by a Sasquatch that there was aliens and a UFO in the trees.
No, there's a connection. I mean, there's a bunch of cases where Sasquatch and UFOs show up at the same time. But what interests me most about this particular one is that some people are seeing one thing, others are not. I interviewed a kid who saw a UFO with a group of his friends. None of his friends could see it. He said it made me feel absolutely insane, but he could see it. He swears up and down. He's like, listen, I saw these things. My friends could not see it. I don't even know how to explain that.
Yeah. What happened after that? Did you see it disappear or move or what?
Well, I wanted to see the aliens. I wanted to see, because I was excited to see them, and I'm like, where are they? Where are they? I can't see them. I can't see them. And after about 20 seconds, I walked back to look at the craft, and the craft was gone. No sound, no nothing. The craft was gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
I have to believe that the ETs are doing this in a sort of a demonstrative way to make a point, perhaps. I don't know.
I think it just goes with the area, right? I really do believe it goes with the area. 2024, we went back, and Samantha and Merle convinced me to camp out there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't camp.
You look like you camp.
Well, I know. I don't like camping. And it's not the camping process I don't like. It's because I never can find a good air mattress that will actually hold the air.
Oh.
It drives me nuts. Doesn't matter whether I buy a bargain bin $20 mattress from Walmart or spend like $250 on one of those cot ones that, comes with the stand so you're off the ground and all that kind of stuff. That they don't work. Just pisses me off, so I don't do it. Yeah. But we were there for 2 days camping. Nothing happened. The only thing that happened was we brought 5 days worth of batteries, and they were all empty about a day and 3/4 in.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And we were not getting anything. Nothing. Until day 3. And that's where things started hitting the fan.
Now, wait, are the batteries dead at this point?
No, what happened was we packed up camp. This was on a Sunday. We packed up camp. We went back to my house because we were tired and everything. So we went to my house for about 6 hours. We recharged all the batteries, 6-7 hours. We recharged all the batteries. We sat down. We had good food to eat. We, because when you're camping, you're always snacking,
Right.
We're not glampers in this area. You can't get a trailer in there. You can't barbecue a steak or whatever. Well, I guess you could if we had brought a grill with us. But, we were snacking the whole time. And we charged up the batteries. We got back out there that evening at about 6:45, 7 o'clock. And immediately we set up everything and excuse me, I had an itch in my eye. We set everything up. We put our tent up in order to, cover all of our gear because there were some dark clouds coming in, and we get hit with about just a torrential downpour for about an hour and 10 minutes. Hey, we're dry. Doesn't matter. We're dry. Gear's dry. Everything's dry. We're all good. And after that happened, I just, they're talking. I just start wandering off to the area where I had that vibration along that trail. So I go back there and I feel like we're being watched. So I call Samantha over and I said, Sam, we're getting watched from that area. I mean, you might want to see. She goes, well, walk in. She goes, I'm right here. Walk in. Like, easy for you to say. I'm like Shaggy out there from Scooby-Doo, right? Like, I don't mind pointing stuff out, but actually doing it is kind of hard, right? And so she's like, fine, just go. I'll be right here. So I walk in about 10 feet, and I'm like, hello, who's there? We're here to see you. Why don't you come join us for a little bit? Why don't you come and just hang out with us? We're here for you. So on and so forth. And nothing, absolutely nothing. But you kind of get the feeling that there is something there.
Yeah.
And it's very, very odd. So we end up just kind of walking back down towards the area. Just 1 second here. I think I got another photo there for you. Preston, that I just brought up. It. Yeah. So we start walking from base camp and we take the turn. And remember, we just had a torrential rain, and it rained so hard that you could not even see the tread from my tires.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we make the turn, we start going down the trail, and Samantha looks down and finds a 17-inch print.
Oh, no. A footprint, right?
And it's fresh because it's right in the dirt.
My.
So we continue down this trail that kind of cuts through the trees, and we could hear something pacing with us. And when we stopped, it stopped. When we went, it went. Until we got to the bend in the road, and we continued down that bend, And so there's 5 of us this time. We have our cameraman, Richie. There's myself, Merle, Samantha, and then our armed guard, Mark. And we ended up kind of going through this trail, and all of a sudden the energy just turned to bear, and we could literally hear a bear in the trees around us foraging. And Mark, being the kind of guy he's like, come on out, bear. Come on, come say hi. But the bear wouldn't. It would have been good for putting it on camera. So we decided to go back towards base camp. And we get the feeling that whatever was following us literally had moved from the trees where it was following us back in behind towards base camp. That's kind of what we were feeling at the time. Mm-hmm. And we're like, well, let's just go with it. Let's see what happens here. And I put another one up there for you, Preston. Oh. And so we get back to base camp. This is the basic one. And if you're looking on screen, watching this on YouTube, where it says base in the base camp circle, right above that, there is a fresh 17-inch track right there. And we're like, you got to be kidding me. Like, we were gone for maybe 20 minutes. And now there is one fresh print right heading towards a trail up to the upper left of base camp.
Now, when you say one fresh print, did you look to see if there was another one next to it, or there was no ground that would, you know what I mean? One print?
We searched that area for other prints. But the weird part about it is, one of the mysteries around the Sasquatch argument is, why is there always just one print? Very rarely will you actually find a set of tracks. Okay, like the only set of tracks that I have heard of in my area came from a gentleman who said he was out walking his dog in mid-December a couple of years ago and found a set of 12 tracks in a row in the snow by his house. He does it, and he said there was nothing before it, there was nothing after it, there was just 12 tracks, evenly spread, left, right, left, right. And, now the skeptics will say, well, why didn't you grab a picture or video? Well, it's minus 25 degrees Celsius at this point when he's walking his dog, minus 22, whatever the temperature was. Your hands are in your pocket.
Yeah, you don't take them out. You freeze them.
You're not taking them out.
Right.
Plus, it was in the evening, and it scared him. So he went back. And I know his neighbor. I talked to his neighbor just, about a month ago. I said, so I hear you've been having Sasquatch problems recently. And he looked at me with just this eye of fear. He's like, what do you know? I said, I know. I said, your neighbor told me. And I said, if you need help, I said, I will be there. Just come let me know. His name's Fred. Right? I said, Fred, I'll be there. But anyways, getting back to that, Samantha and I grabbed a camera and we followed the direction of the footprint, which led up to a path. And I'm going to show you one more picture here because it's going to be important. And you'll love this one, Dolly. You really will.
All right. You might have to remove some of the others. Like, oh wait, there it is. I see it.
Yep, there it is.
All right.
So we get to this tree right beside the or right on the trail.
Yeah.
Now remember, it is absolutely downpoured on us. Everything is soaked except what is under our tent.
Okay.
And Samantha notices this 8-foot staff leaning against the tree.
Huh.
Now, we have video proof that staff was not there all weekend.
Mm.
Here's the other thing. That staff was bone dry.
Oh.
Except for one area about 3 feet up on it. And if you can see the picture, it'd be almost equivalent to Merle's thigh, where you can see a wet mark, which would be where a hand would be holding it.
Wow.
Okay.
Did
That
you
was
leave
kind
that
of,
stick, or did you take it back with you?
well, we'll get to that part here in a
Okay.
second. The bottom of it looked like it had been twisted and dragged through dirt
Mhm.
because there was fresh dirt on the bottom of it.
Yeah, you can
Now,
kinda
the
see
tree now here's the interesting part. And the reason why the staff is in Merle's hands,
Mhm.
and this is 2024. It happened at the exact same tree that Merle was standing by when he was chased out of the forest in 2018.
Oh,
Well,
So
that's
we figured that was a
I remember you.
an olive branch, so to speak, a pun intended, to Merle to say sorry about that. And so Merle still has the staff. We took the staff with us, but we traded it. We
Oh,
traded the staff for a Canadian dollar coin that's called a loonie.
okay.
And we took the staff out of there and then we left.
It's really called a loony.
Yeah, well, that's the nickname of it. The reason why it's called a loonie is because you have the queen's head on the one side, and on the other side was a caption of a loon, like the bird, a loon.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why it's called a loonie. They've been in circulation since 1987.
Wow.
So I went back to, let's fast forward to November, or no, that night, sorry. Later on that night, we actually had a number of them. You could hear them in the trees. The later we stayed, the more aggressive they were getting in the trees, until Mark basically said, you know what, guys, it's time to leave. We need to go. Okay. He figures one got within probably 20 yards of us in the forest. There's no light there. Okay. Yes, we had flashlights, but there's no light.
No moon either.
Okay. We're in pitch dark in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And so we packed up our gear and we got the hell out of there. But we were
I don't think people realize quite what it's like. It's one thing to talk about it here in the safety of your home, but when you're out there in the wilderness,
Right.
in Topanga Canyon, it's a pretty big wilderness area. We go hiking at night. We hear coyotes. We hear cougar.
Yeah.
We'd hear stuff walking around.
Yeah.
It gets spooky. It really does.
It does. You're completely right. And it scared us.
Right. I grew up in the Everglades, and we didn't go anywhere without a gun ever. Okay,
right?
Ever. Yeah. We had things that could eat you, and it was not okay to go out without, protection.
How do we know that it tracked us? Because when we hopped in our vehicles and started to drive away,
Mhm.
it whistled, high pitch whistled twice right
Oh.
behind us.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I've never been more scared in my life. Like, we were stalked. We were stalked that night. And it affected all of us.
Find out what happened, huh? You didn't want to stay there long enough to see if there was...
No. It was time to go. It was time to go.
Wow.
So
I'm still kind of tripping up on the whole one footprint idea, because there's a number of cases that are immediately coming to mind. One lady, I think her name was Lunetta Woods, was following some tracks, and they turned into deer prints. She said they actually transformed into deer prints. So this is just more indication that this is, there's a paranormal aspect to these guys.
Yes.
I don't know. I think as a hunter, and I can tell you this, you got to ask yourself, where's the track next to? Is there a tree right near it that it can jump into the tree, and the one track is the
well,
down?
what a lot of Sasquatch investigators tend to believe is that, if they're more on the woo side of everything, they are wondering whether or not maybe Sasquatch is walking in two dimensions at once.
Oh.
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of with that school of thought, actually, because I interviewed a guy who said he saw a Sasquatch. This is up in the Trinity Mountains, Northern California, and it was invisible. It appeared right in front of him, and then so did the mama Sasquatch. I know how this sounds, and the child, and it spoke to him telepathically, saying, "Yes, we have the ability to turn invisible."
Yeah. Yeah. So it escorted us out. And then in November of last year, out of the blue, I started getting dreams about it.
Mm.
I did.
Yes,
And
it doesn't surprise me. Not at
just
all.
like it was, I knew the phenomena was trying to contact me saying, you need to come back. You need to come back. We're waiting for you. And it's winter here. Okay. Like
Yeah.
when the snow starts to fall in that area, we cannot get there.
Mm-mm.
Okay. And when through the winter, we don't go up there because the snow can be very heavy in there. You could get up to 4 or 5 feet of snow, if not more, in that area. So we really don't go up there in the winter. So I said to Tim, I said, I'm being haunted by Flight 21. I said, it keeps coming to me. He goes, well, what's it saying? I said, nothing. It's just showing me images that it's time to go back. So I don't want to do this, man. So I made a deal with the phenomena. And I said, what do you want me to do? I'll do whatever you want. I'll put myself as the experiment. I will put myself in the line of fire here. And make sure you guys don't need to go to break, do you?
No. Mm-mm.
No.
Okay. If
Okay.
you need to, go right ahead. Okay.
No, that's fine. Let's go with this story.
Okay.
So I had a conversation with the phenomena in meditation. I said, you're calling me in here. I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing here? And they said, we just want you to come back. I said, okay. How many times? Figured it was about it. The answer that came to me was about a 2 to 3 year investigation. Minimum. And I went, okay. I said, what else? They said, the first 6 times that you go in, we want you just to put a lawn chair behind your vehicle and just sit there.
Wow.
Well, this past weekend was time number 6.
Wow.
Okay.
I have 2 pertinent questions. I
Wow.
want to ask you something. Of that
Sure.
flight, did they recover all the bodies?
Yes, they did.
Okay, so no bodies were left out there.
No.
Okay. That was an interesting, because sometimes this is weird. Okay. When Flight 401 went down in the Everglades, we heard it hit. Okay. We were that close to it. And everybody in our area, we all got swamp buggies and stuff, and we all went hauling out there. Okay. In the middle of the bloody night. Because it was like right at dusk when it hit, and it was full dark when we went out there. We had big lights, searchlights and stuff. People were finding, bodies and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And this went on for about 4 or 5 days. The authorities were out there. Everybody was trying to help. And after it all calmed down, it seemed like the woods, or what was out there, it was like it wasn't over yet for everything that was out there in the woods. And we would go out. I used to go dig up Indian burial mounds. Okay. And yeah, I'm a weird kid. And I had help too, by the way. My ecology teacher used to go with me. Was out there in the middle of the night one night, and it was repeatedly getting weirder and weirder and weirder. And I kept getting the feeling that it's not over. Something has not been gotten, and everything out there knew it. And they were all of their energy was going into trying to make somebody on our side of it try to pay attention to it. And that's what I'm asking you now. Do you think that you were being drawn towards something that wasn't over with this yet? Because energy talks,
I'm gonna answer this way because I have to be careful with that answer.
Okay.
Okay. And the reason why I have to be careful is because Flight 21 is still an open case.
Okay.
One of the things that we will not do there is investigate the plane crash. Okay. Because, and I've talked to the members of the RCMP about this.
Mm-hmm.
If we get it, there's still a lot of people who are still hurt by this, and people who are still alive. There's a lady in my community. Oh, she's in her 70s now, but she lost both her parents on that flight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there is still a lot of pain and trauma within the community of this happening.
Wow.
We know Flight 21 is the cause. What we don't know is, or what we're trying to solve, is the effect around it. Why are there UFOs there? Why are there aliens there? What does Sasquatch have to do with this? You know, the ghosts and the EVPs that we have since got out of there are pretty cool. Okay, they're pretty amazing. You know, and this part, though, when it comes to the plane crash, we try not to even bring it up. We're not there to, you know, let's just say hypothetically, and when I say this, we're not going for a television show. We're not going to be famous off of this. We're having fun. And if you go watch our videos online, on our YouTube channel about this, they are very amateurishly done, and we want it that way because we want people to have our point of view, our perspective. Okay. And we're not trying to do a big production. We're not using, you know, thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment. We're shooting this with an iPhone mainly. Okay. And I mean, it was a big upgrade where like 3 weeks ago, we got those microphone lapel microphones that you put on, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I had to remember because of my beard, I had to put it down lower because you'd hear the scratching of my beard on the microphone, right? So we're trying to do this amateurly on purpose, the way we're filming it, because we want it to be raw. We want you guys or the viewers to be able to see what we do, because we've been talking about this on Spaced Out Radio for a number of years. Oh, and when I did this project, and I'm taking the long road here, Dolly, for a second, hope you don't mind. But when we started on this investigation, you know, we told the phenomena we're going to be armed. Okay, but we will not raise a weapon to anything to do with the effect. I asked about our safety. Are we safe? And the phenomena has not answered that question yet. Okay, so that is a cause for concern, but curiosity. The other thing too is, now that we've gone through the 6 times that the phenomena said we would just want you to sit behind the vehicle and wait and watch. Well, we've done that 6 times now. I'm waiting for another signal from the phenomena to tell me, okay, what am I doing this weekend? Okay, what's happening this weekend? What's happening the following weekend? How do we, because we know now that we've done the 6. I've held up our end of the bargain. Okay, we've done the 6. What's next? What is next on what we need to do in order to elevate the investigations? Because there are things we want to try. I want to bring in, I got a friend of mine who is a native shaman. I want to bring her in. I would love to see how things react to a drumming session and indigenous singing. I want to see that.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that area has a lot of indigenous heritage in that area.
Wow.
We do believe we are going to have to bring in a couple more people on our team locally, because that way we can carry out further experimentation. Because, you know, let's say I bring you guys in there, you guys may get something in an area where I get nothing, you know, and now we could, you know, see what's happening. So we're looking at adding 1 to 2 more people on that end of everything. Okay. So we've had there so far. Now, if you remember that Canadian loony that I was telling you about, that we traded the staff for, when I went back 3 weeks after in 2024, the loony was still there at the base of the tree. When we went back the first time this year to start our investigation, the loony was gone and it was replaced with a quarter.
That's wild.
So, no, pardon me, a dime. I apologize, a dime. So we took the dime and we replaced it with a quarter. The following week, the quarter was gone, but there was nothing replacing it. So we thought that maybe a person saw it and took it. that's what made sense. And when I talked to a couple of intuitives, they figured, yeah, it seemed like a young kid took it. Okay.
Do you have trail cameras out there?
Getting to that.
Okay.
I was just looking at it too.
The short answer to that is no, not yet. Okay. Would you like me to answer that question now while it's on topic?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
The
dying
reason
now.
why we haven't put trail cams up there yet
Mhm.
is because we don't want to scare them off. For a lot of Sasquatch researchers that I've talked to, they said you have to build that trust. Build that trust with them first, because for some way or somehow, Sasquatch seems to have the ability to know where these trail cams are, whether they can hear the electronics that we cannot hear, whether they see the red light on it, okay, whatever it may be.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And
Well,
they
they're
seem to stay.
telepathic, I think. They absolutely know what's going on. This is why people, it's very hard to surprise a Sasquatch. They know you're coming a mile away.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, when it comes to that, we haven't put them out yet. We are planning on that. That will be coming soon. Okay, we just haven't gotten there yet.
There are many contactees who've put up motion sensors and cameras in their homes, and they don't catch ETs.
My brother took
the same way.
4 bottles of baby powder, cornstarch baby powder.
Yeah.
And powdered the entire area around the house, all the way around 4 feet out. I'm not kidding you. He said, we're going to get footprints. And I'm like, Bob, no, we're not. And he said, how do you know? And I said, because they're going to take one look at that and laugh their butts off and not touch it. And he said, no, we're going to get footprints. Well, we heard the noises. We heard all kinds of stuff going on, and there wasn't a single footprint. Okay. And it hit me very hard that an intelligent intelligence, sentient beings are smarter than we give them credit for, that we're very egotistical in our minds, thinking that this is a dumb animal. They are not. And if they can avoid a camera as much as they're sighted, and as much as people have seen them and reported them for thousands of years all over the world, there's not one bloody picture of one for real, close up. Okay. There's none of that going on. And ET's a lot the same way. Nobody's really gotten a full-on picture.
I mean, there are some, but I think that they were intentionally given.
Right, exactly, allowed. And that's the point. If they don't want to be photographed, they're not going to be photographed. They're that sentient. And they are smart enough to know. And I mean, he was so mad because it was so dry. We had like 5 straight days of no rain, no nothing, and not a fingerprint, nothing. But what you call the phenomenon was going all around the cabin. Okay. And I said, what can I tell you? He had marked trails with it, dusted trails with it and stuff. And I said, it shows up at night, almost like a pointer. Don't hit me, I mean, I thought, he said, no, we're going to figure it out. Then he would hang stuff from the trees, so they'd go through it like a webbing effect, brush through it, try to camouflage it. No, nothing got touched. But we knew it was out there. We knew it. We could hear it, literally hear it making noises and doing stuff. The only time I ever got proof that one was out there for real was it was freezing cold and we had a bonfire going, and my brother wasn't around. It was just me and my daughter and my husband. And
this is more of a gifting situation that you're talking
and
about.
I left food in the fire, and it promised me that it would not burn the forest down. And I went in and shut all my shades and refused to look out. I thought, if I lose trust, I lose trust. I can't do that. I warned everybody in the house, no looking out, no going outside, no nothing. And in the morning we got up, the food got eaten, the fire got banked back. Okay. And the bowls that the food was in was left nice, neatly stacked up. And I was like, look at that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to backtrack, Dave, because you said, you dreamt about it. When I found out about Bigfoot, started researching my first Bigfoot cases, I had a slew of Bigfoot dreams. And I felt like it was, in a way, reaching out to me.
Right.
And I've never really talked about that, but I absolutely felt it.
Yeah.
And we've all had that feeling of being watched. So when you describe that, I'm like, yeah, people feel that with ETs too. You absolutely feel that with Bigfoot. So
100%.
and for that matter, ghosts, all of this stuff.
Yeah, I would totally agree with you. I mean, we get all sorts of feelings up there. Whether it's creepy or whether it's not. Like when we were up there this past weekend, it was very tame. Like, but we could feel eyes, like we were being watched everywhere that we went. And here's a funny one for you. Nobody knows this. I haven't even talked about this on my show yet. We walk past this area because we were moving the gifting site back to the original tree in 2020. Okay. We're moving the gifting site to get it away where it's a little bit more hidden from the public because there has been a number of people going up there lately.
Good idea.
And we walk through this trail and it's open, like it's open ground. And there's this giant, I'm going to say this tree is at least 100 feet high, like total old growth tree, beautiful tree. Like I literally walk up to that tree and I tell it I love it. Okay. And and because it's just so beautiful. And that's where we have the gifting site. And so we moved a whistle, we moved a piece of jade, a piece of quartz, the loonie, and the quarter, which reappeared, over to that site. And as we decided to go back, now literally about 15 feet away from us, we all of a sudden start getting this smell of skunk. Now, I know people who have said when Sasquatch is around, it kind of smells skunky. So we're looking around, we're going into different areas, 15, 20 feet away, not smelling anything. Go back to this area, it smells like a skunk. So we're like, maybe a skunk ran past here. And then it disappears. The smell disappears.
Yeah. So
we go to a different area, the smell is back there now. We didn't see a skunk. This area is kind of open because there's not a lot of growth there due to the coverage of the trees. We didn't see any skunk whatsoever. Nothing. Okay, and yet, boom, there it was. So we're trying to figure out the skunk smell. We don't get skunk cabbage in that area. There's no water areas. We're on top of a hill. We're, 1,183 meters above sea level.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Okay.
In Florida, what Sasquatch is referred to in Florida as skunk eggs.
Yes.
For a reason. They smell like skunks. They really do.
Yep, they don't always smell. There's a kind of misconception about Bigfoot that it always smells. That's from what I understand. That's
absolutely
always true.
Absolutely. So we're sitting there looking for this smell. But 2 weeks previous to this, we had probably our scariest incident there. And I don't know if I ever want to have that happen again. It started off, we were sitting on our lawn chairs, just taking a little bit break. And a couple minutes later, we hear this chipmunk about, 15, 20 feet in the trees. It goes beep, beep, just the way a chipmunk sounds. Not like that, because I don't know how to make a chipmunk sound, but like a peep, peep. And then we heard something kind of flush through the trees. And then the chipmunk went beep again, and everything went silent. So I kind of stood up, got my binoculars out. I'm trying to look through the trees to see if I could see anything moving. Don't see anything. Then way off in the distance, we start hearing a woman's voice, very monotone. Help me. Can you come here? I'm over here. Help me. Please help me. I'm over here. Help me. And so I jump up out of my chair and I'm listening to this and I'm like, Tim, are you hearing this? It's like, hearing what? I said, listen, there's a woman's voice over there. And it was continuous, like it wouldn't stop. Now our microphones didn't pick it up and we could barely hear it. But it was, Help me. I'm over here. Help me.
Mm.
Can you come here? And then as it's the voice started to move. Like we're at base camp, which is high noon. This voice is coming at us at about 4:00, but way off in the distance. And then the voice starts to move, and now it's at 3:00. And where I knew it wasn't human was when it went, help me. Then there was a pause. I love you. I'm over here. Help me. And that's where I knew it wasn't human. And then all of a sudden, a man's voice pops up. Help us. We're over here. Help us. Like, there's no emotion. Like, here's the thing. Like, David Politis from Missing 411 and Can-Am Missing, he discusses this a lot of people who hear these voices and they go try and track these voices, never to be heard from again. And I was like, screw this. I am not going over there. I am not. But I could see where people would fall for that. Okay. I don't know whether it was the spirits from the crash site. I don't believe it was. I don't know if it was a Wendigo. I don't know if it was a skinwalker, a dogman, whatever it was, the little people that roam and patrol the forests. I don't know. But all I know was I am not going over there because we're going to go. And then when we heard it say, I heard it, Tim did not. It said, I love you.
No, you don't answer that.
That's where I knew it wasn't human. And a human in distress, for the most part, is going to have fluctuation in their voice. You're going to hear moaning. You're going to hear groaning. If they are in pain, you're going to hear maybe a scream or something along those lines. If we had heard like a human scream and some of that distress sound in their voices, we probably would have went over there because that's probably a situation where you may need a couple of armed guys going in there.
Yeah.
Okay. But to hear that, but to hear that monotone, help me, I'm over here. I love you. Help me.
Yeah.
No names.
I was thinking, this could sound like the ghosts of survivors, but no, I don't know. That sounds almost demonic spirit.
So we go back to the base camp, and I looked at Tim. I said, do you think we should go? He's like, no. He goes, we want to do the Estes method yet on me because Tim had never done it. And he goes, let's do the Estes method. I said, okay, after that, let's pull out. And I thanked him for actually calming me down because I'm a fight or flight kind of guy. And this was definitely a flight situation for me. Right. So we sit down with Tim to do the Estes method. And all of a sudden, after he starts getting an immediate reaction in the headphones. And all of a sudden he's like, and people can watch, it was 22 minutes long. If you go to the video on our Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel called Voices in the Woods, you can hear it. There's 22 minutes of Tim in the Estes method. And I said, just don't hold back. And he opened it up, and all of a sudden a male voice came in, was trying to act all gruff and tough. And he's like, F you. And then all of a sudden I got to a point where he said my name, and then I know you in your dreams or dreams.
That would definitely be demonic. Yep.
Yeah. So whatever that was trying to lure us into the forest, I think if we would have followed that, we may not be having this conversation today.
No, I agree. Wow.
So we got a lot going on in this area. A lot going on. And I know there are people at certain ranches in Utah who are watching what we're doing. And I don't know where this is going to lead. I don't know what is the outcome of this all. I don't know what's going to happen next week. But we're going to go back. Tim and I have committed to it. and we're going to continue it. Like getting back to the trail cams, once we have that trust in there, we will put trail cams up. We got 4 trail cams waiting to go up. Just we want to build that trust first with whatever's there. I don't know what's going to be there.
Now, there's not a whole lot of people up in this area, so it'd be hard to determine if there's a history of UFO encounters going way back. But
let me cut you off there. The Caribou region of British Columbia has a high concentration of ghosts, concentration of cryptid sightings, and UFO and alien encounters.
all right,
People see UFOs here all the time, and many people it's hard to find them, but they will talk about their abductions.
This is exactly where I was going, because I grew up in Topanga Canyon, and it has the same kind of thing going on. This is where the Native Americans lived. They went through great tragedies, of course, as we all know. So there's that link there. Lots of UFO activity, an enormous amount of ghost activity. I found a couple of cryptid sightings, and get this, a religious miracle, a sighting of, the Mother Mary as well.
Wow.
Which is, this is not a huge area, Topanga Canyon, the Santa Monica Mountain Range. And then if you look at Christopher O'Brien's research into the San Luis Valley in Colorado, same darn thing. It has the spectrum of activity, even, thunderbirds, little tiny beings that they don't know what they are, UFOs, of course, ghosts, the whole deal. So this, to me, is the million-dollar question, this confluence of so many paranormal phenomena.
Right. And the question is, like, what's causing it? Like I said, for our area, like we know point blank that in our area, we know the cause, which is the crash site that's brought attention to that site. But why the effect? What my theory on it, and I'm curious to get your perspective on this. My theory is, if we look at Sasquatch as more than just a flesh and blood creature, that maybe it does have some sort of supernatural ability. Has it become a guardian for the spirits that still have to make that forest their home?
Maybe. I mean, that's always been my opinion, that they're here as protectors of nature and what's in it. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen a map of the globe where the magnetic field lines on the planet itself have come into points where there's chevrons in those points, and you'll see these chevrons at different points all over the planet. Have you ever seen that map that they mapped out?
No, that doesn't sound familiar.
I'm going to look it up for you and send it to you, because I'm wondering if there's a convergence point, which is what I would call it, a convergence point of field lines where you've got a convergence in that area. Okay, because it draws more energy there. In other words, there's more electromagnetic conductivity. There's more energy, period. I mean, it's a focal point of energy on the planet. I
think you're hitting on something there, because people say Topanga Canyon has a vortex. People who are saying
I would call it. It's in one of those nodes where there's just the field lines meet it together, and they cause that to happen.
Well, maybe there's something about it that makes, and I'm just spitballing here, that thins the veil a little bit, or allows us to perceive these things in a more.
It turns the volume up on the activity, and if you're sensitive to it, you see it better. That's how I see things. I'm like your friend. I'm wide open psychic. Okay. And I live with spirit all the time. I mean, hell, they walk through the house, they come and visit. We have to tell them to leave now, that kind of thing. Just stuff happens around me all the time. And when you're that way, if I go in an area of more activity, like I went to a friend's, we were in Savannah all the time. My daughter was in all-state chorus for 3 years. Okay. And it's in Savannah. So we had to go for like a whole week with all the kids in the chorus. And I was one of the moms that did that, and stay there. You don't drive around Savannah, you walk. Savannah is one of the most haunted, bloody cities in this country. Okay. Bar none, one of the most haunted. You can walk down the street in the middle of the night, and I will just be minding my own business, and I would stop everybody, don't move. And my daughter would say, I see it. And I said, let's go this way. And we turn and walk away from it because there would be something glaring at me because it knew I could see it. Okay. And I was like, no. She wanted to go on one of those tour things. And I said, no, I will not. She finally talked me into it. We went into a building and all hell broke loose. And the lady said, this has never happened before. And I'm sitting there quietly thinking, yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And I'm wringing my hands thinking, can we leave? Can we leave now? And my daughter's like, why don't you tell them? And I'm like, nope, not talking for anybody in this room. That ain't happy. And I ain't talking to it. No. And I noticed that most of those ghosts, most of those beings that are still hanging out are pissed off, angry people. Okay. Literally, because they don't like being where they're at. You know, they're kind of stuck. And if they see you and you can see them, they're going to use you to get the hell out or find out why they're there, you know, because they're confused. And I'm not doing, it's not my job, not my circus, not my monkeys, not doing it. I will tell you to move on. I'll give you a ride up, you know, I'll tell you how to get there. I'll do all that stuff, but I don't want to know what's bad with you. I don't want to know why you're pissed off. None of that stuff. And when you're in an area like you're talking about, you're getting spied on and watched because they're trying to decide whether you're a good witch or a bad witch. Okay. Literally. Mm-hmm. Okay. Literally. And once you get trust from it, then it will start showing itself for what it really is to you. And but the one thing you got to promise in a situation like that, and this is how I am, is I don't bloody tell anybody about it. The stuff that I've really experienced is mostly between me and it. I don't give information about it at all. Okay. That's what they're looking for. Just saying.
Right.
You got to go there, you know. The other thing I'm going to tell you is, have you ever thought about bringing a wooden barrel, half-cut barrel that's waterproof and dumping enough water in it and leaving it for them? That would be a gift you could, bar none, they would.
The getting to that area to haul things in is difficult. Like I'll give you an example, Dolly. You can't get a trailer in there.
Really?
Okay. You can't get a truck in there. When you come off the logging road and you get to the end of the trail, you have to go into a gully and then come out. And in that gully, you have your options. You can walk in there. You can ATV
really
in there.
Okay.
Or you need like a Jeep or a Bronco in order to get into that area.
So could you tie the barrel to the roof of your vehicle and then bring a gallon jugs or 5-gallon jugs of water in to fill it up?
No, not with my soft top.
Oh.
Because I'll tell you right now, there is a bunch of deadfall in there that I would love to cut up for firewood. You know?
Yeah.
And the way there's one group in our town that, like I said to you earlier, that is trying to make it a tourist attraction.
Mm-hmm.
They've been putting up signs. This is the way to Flight 21 and all this kind of stuff. And somebody from that group has even moved a lot of the debris and laid it against a fallen log, like to put it on view. And that's really bugged me in regards to that.
Yeah. That's bad. That's really, really bad.
Right.
Is it protected? Is that area owned by somebody or is it all state?
No, it's what we call crown land.
Okay.
So basically the King of England owns it.
Is there rules about people going in there and doing stupid stuff like that?
No, just human idiocy.
Wow.
You know, I mean, you would think that I'm trying to figure out how I could have that conversation with somebody without it affecting what I do.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
You almost have to make a deal. I need 6 clear months of no activity. Can you give me that? You know?
Well, I mean, I don't care if people go up there. That's not really the issue. The issue that I have is that somebody's trying to make a tourist attraction out of it.
Right. Which is the last thing you want. That's probably the last thing they want. See what I'm saying?
Right?
Yeah.
You would think.
That's
in some ways, it's a sacred site. I mean, let's face it. You know, people lost their lives there. That's got to be treated with respect.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And Dolly, you were talking about the Everglades flight. There were 2 major plane crashes in there, but
the second one dove in so bad that it went straight into the swamp It swallowed it up. They had to dive for that. They were
I
bringing
remember that.
Right.
first. I mean, when you went out there, you saw nothing. It covered it up right away up in that swamp.
I'm not sure which one you're talking about. One was Flight 401.
Right, that's the first one. Okay, and that's
Yeah,
the
that
one
one
felt and saw.
that had an aftermath, a psychic aftermath that is still being felt today.
That's
The
what I'm
pilot
telling you.
was
Yeah.
seen on several different aircrafts. He
Yep.
kept appearing.
Yep.
The book by John G. Fuller, who, by the way, wrote Betty and Barney Hill Story and Incident at Exeter and some other disaster books, wrote that one. And his wife did a follow-up. It's an amazing story.
Right. It was a Eastern flight, right?
Yep. When there's a big tragedy like this, it has psychic echoes that go way out. So that
I was a student
place
out there, and trust me, you didn't go out there. You just didn't. You left it alone. We left it alone. And every time I went out there, that's where I had the reptilian show up out of nowhere on me after that. I mean, just out of freaking nowhere, a reptilian showed up one day. I'm out there on an Indian burial mound. I'm getting ready to pack up. And I felt behind me, something's back there. And I turned to look over my right shoulder. It was standing right there staring at me. That was the spookiest day of my entire life. I booked. I ran. My canoe was on the other Indian. It's like mountains, and then there's big glade water sawgrass in it. And my canoe was on the other mountain. I had to go through the water to get to it. I was being chopped up by the sawgrass. I jumped in it, didn't take any money. I left everything and booked out of there as fast as I could. And later on, my ET contact told me, if he wanted to eat you, he would have. Okay. That you were let go. And I was like, okay, I had to come to grips with that because that gave me PTSD. That incident gave me PTSD. And I never, and then I realized, oh yeah, it could have outrun me. No problem. It could have outrun me. It let me go. I didn't go back for a month. I was terrified of it. I'm not kidding. And, but every time I go out in the woods out there, there was just things going on. It was like high energy all the time. And if I went anywhere near where it was in the, there's the Gumbalembo Trail and the Sharktooth Valley, and it was like in between those two places. And we lived on this side of the Gumbalembo Trail. And you just didn't go out there. The animals avoided it. I'm not kidding you. It was creepy.
Well, this makes me want to do some more research into places like, the Civil War battlefields. Do they have a higher incidence of UFO activity?
Yes. Andersonville does in Georgia. Are you kidding me? Oh my God.
Pennsylvania is super famous for its high levels of UFO and Bigfoot. I'm trying to get Stan Gordon on the show. Unfortunately, he can only do it by phone, so we haven't been able to do that. But there's something to what you're looking into here, Dave, with all of these things coming on at once.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we don't know where it's going to end. We had a beginning. We don't have an end. And I don't know whether we're going to be able to ever see an end there.
I don't think all our poles are changing. Everything is weird energetically on this planet now anyway. And I think we're ramping up into higher levels of it as it goes along. No kidding. And I think that's what everybody's starting to experience. And that might be what you got going on too, out where you're at. Like I said, if it's in a place where there's generally a node of energy coming together, it might not be a thinning of the veil. It might be an intensifying of the signal is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay?
Could very well be. Could very well be. It is something that we're monitoring. But the one thing that, that we are doing that I can say we're doing it with some consistency is we're letting the phenomena dictate what's going to happen.
There you go.
We're not trying to control it.
Right.
No. Not that you could.
Right.
But you just let it happen. That's what you do. That's a good thing. That's a really good thing. Wow. Do your EVP monitors go off when Sasquatch is around you?
Yes.
This is something I wanted to know because they're psychic. They are psychic. Okay. I know they are because I've had psychic contact. And psychic ability, I can set an EVP off. Every time one has even been put on near me, it goes crazy and stuff happens. Okay. Ask Yvonne Watson. Oh my God. She had like 8 different devices and she kept handing them to me to see what would happen. One of them went nuts. Okay. And lots of spirits started talking through it. No joking around. I mean, just and she said, how do you do that? And I said, I don't bloody know. why are you doing this to me? She brought him to Laughlin with us, Preston. That wheelbarrow she had with all that equipment in it, she wanted to show you what happens when she turns them on around me. No, let's not do that this time. She was so mad at me. She was like, I want to turn them on. And yeah, so I know it affects them. If you're psychic, you can walk near one and it'll go off.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
You know, there are a few cases where people see a Bigfoot and their car engine stalls, kind of like a UFO hovering over it. So perhaps there's these weird commonalities. I think this is what's caused some people to sort of lump these phenomena together and conflate them all as like one intelligence. I'm not ready to go there yet, because I having had personal experiences with ET, and I know you have, Dave. I feel ET is ET. You know, it is what it is, and Bigfoot too. So there's something else going on that we're not fully understanding here.
Yeah.
Well, the connection to the phenomena is, I think, paramount. I think that's the next level of investigation. Too many people out there, and I'm not saying that they're doing it wrong, because I don't think anybody's really doing it wrong. Well, save for a few. But too many people, though, just haven't been able to grasp the connection that I learned a long time ago, that, and I'm sure you did too, that ghosts, psychic ability, NDEs, cryptids, aliens, UFOs, it's all intertwined.
Right. We're all swimming in the same soup. Literally.
Absolutely we are.
It's amazing.
Absolutely we
And
are.
researchers who I understand, you know, are wanting to prove things and are very nuts and bolts in their attitude towards it. I get that, and I think it serves a purpose, but ultimately we have to consider all the data. I mean, we really need to embrace all of it if we want to understand it.
Right.
Well, and I think, but it's tough though when that happens, because this field is so ego driven. It's not, you know, there's a lot of good people who are doing this for the right reason, but there's a lot of ego driven issues where, let's say, I'm not going to share my evidence with you, Preston, because I don't want you running with it. I'll give you a prime example of this, a recent one. Everybody's hot to trot about Ross Coulthart from News Nation in the UFO world, coming out with the story that the Tic Tac UFOs could be from Lockheed Martin. We broke that story on Spaced Out Radio about 18 months, 2 years ago.
Yes, you did. I remember it, actually.
Dolly told me that quite some time ago.
I told her 4 or 5 years ago.
Not ET.
Not ET, it's us.
Right? And we broke that story a couple of years ago. I have an insider that told me, but because I don't have the platform of News Nation, right? Mm-hmm. Ross gets credit for breaking that story, which is fine. I'm not worried about it. You know what? The story got out to where it needed to go, which was to cause a lot of conversation about this, both pro and con. And I think it's funny that people are out there saying, well, obviously Ross is being fed misinformation, or now he's a misinformation agent. He's not. He's just following the story of the information that he's been told.
Yeah. Well, it's not only ego-driven. Let's say it's greed-driven in terms of the media, who is really not searching for the truth. Their bottom line is money. I've been on enough TV shows that I've learned to watch myself, because that's honestly what you know, and I understand that we've got to make a living. That's their living. But as researchers, we have to be careful when we're approached by, you know, the media, because really they're not always looking for the truth.
No, they'll change the narrative. They'll overwrite you or edit you, you know, to make it sound like their narrative, what they want it to sound like. And
some shows are much better than others. I don't want to lambast all of them, but I've learned a few tough lessons. I mean, I really have.
Yeah.
So this field definitely. Well, let's face it, all humanity needs a little growing up to do.
Yeah.
We all do.
In the scientific community, if you discover something or if you bring information out and it's read into the scientific record, you're 100% given credit for it. It's not like you're the king of it or anything, but you absolutely get credit, and everybody is an acknowledgement of what that is. And they'll talk about it. They'll cite you, and then they'll give who gave the information to begin with. It's professional courtesy. Okay. But the UFO community is not capable of doing that yet, and that's irritating. As you know what, everybody has to be right all the time. They have to be on top of the pedestal, and they have to be the ones giving the information that nobody else could give you. That's not okay. Okay, if we can't
Well,
sharing information, we're in trouble. That's what the
well,
problem.
and that's a big thing right there is
Yeah.
how do we just share the information with without letting the ego get involved, and that's
Exactly.
the tough one.
Yeah, it is. And there's an old book, it's called Robert's Rules of Order. Okay, so if you're going to run a meeting or something, even the government uses this rule book, or they try to. It's decorum. It's how you behave or act within that community, so that everybody has a fair, equal opportunity to bring in information and be part of it, right? But we need to do that in this one. We need to figure out a way where everybody's in, I'm going to use the word communion or consensus. Take your pick. Use which one you want to use. But we all should be open and willing to, because we should all be data driven, literally, so that we could compare data and then come to some bloody conclusions about
Well,
it.
there's a problem with that because, there's mainstream science and it's become somewhat of a closed system. And we all know about the UFO cover-up. There's a Bigfoot cover-up as well. Anyone who's researched Bigfoot for any length of time knows that evidence gets suppressed.
Yeah.
And I've come to realize that comes to the paranormal too. It's particularly psychic abilities and our own abilities.
That's people saying they're the authority and these other people are not. And that cannot be true 100% of the time. If you have experience and you've got enough of it to be called an authority, you are an authority,
Yeah, but my point is we're not only fighting egos and greed, but an active cover-up on multiple fronts.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, but that goes for any cryptid. It goes for giants. How realistic is the story, the giants of Kandahar, right?
Yeah.
Or the dog soldiers of Anubis, right? There's a lot that goes on there that we just don't know.
It's amazing to me because if you know anything about science or you study certain things, that you start to realize that your knowledge base is big enough, and you hear these stories and you go, there's a possibility sticking in there. Because one of the things I know about DNA and the study of DNA, our DNA and everything else's, is that we're all related to one another. We all have the same DNA. It just dials up differently, which means you have the DNA of canine in your body. You have DNA of cats, felines, equine. You have DNA of grass, of baboons and bonobos and bananas. Okay. If you're alive and you have DNA, we all have that DNA in our, they realized that they thought that we had a lot of junk DNA. They didn't know what it was. And then when they got into it, they went, oh my God, it's everything. It's all of it. Okay. It's not junk DNA. It's literally all the DNA, all of it. All life is in that DNA. Okay, so you start hearing about Anubis and the warriors and all that, and the dogmen and all that, and you go, okay, well, there's more to that than you know. You hear experiences telling you that they've seen Horus-like beings, dogmen, big dogmen, and they'll swear to it on a Bible, or they'll take a lie detector and pass it. And you say, how is that possible? But it's not. If you're talking DNA from a scientific level, you know that that's a high possibility, that there could be a sentient being who has more canine, see what I'm saying, in their DNA, humanoid canine, than we have. It just expressed out louder into their DNA. That's all possibilities, and you can't ignore that. You can't deny it at all. It's real. Science has proven it enough. One of the things I don't like about AI is that AI is not ever going to be sentient. We're sentient. All biological life is sentient. Okay. This is just a machine that without electricity, it's dead. It doesn't exist anymore. It doesn't have a soul. It can't move on to anything. It's just a tool, and it's programmed. It's brain activity is programmed by people who are fallible and egotistical and don't code well. Okay. And you get these AIs, you hear it all the time that this AI went nuts. It started calling people Nazis the other day. It's just garbage in, garbage
You heard that one? It was impersonating Marco Rubio.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not okay. And we can't put stock into that. And yet they're making that more important or smarter than us all of a sudden, that it's going to overtake us, and we're sitting here letting the ideas sink in.
And that's another major problem in this field. All the fakery coming straight from AI.
Yes.
And Photoshop.
I've been doing it for a while.
Let's look at all the Bigfoot, footage out there. That's not Bigfoot footage. We know it's not. It's fake.
You put up the one of something sitting in the tree. I saw that, and I was like, "Oh my God, that really does look like it could be a Bigfoot." Okay, I mean, I enlarged it. I sharpened it up a little bit. I started really picking at it, and I went, "Oh my God, that he caught one. That's got to be it."
Yeah, Tim got that.
It freaked me out. I was like, "Oh my God, you got a really good photo of something in the tree, and it looks like a Bigfoot."
And we have tried to recreate that so many times that we can't recreate that photo.
Get back engineer, can you? That's amazing.
No,
yeah.
No, we just can't.
That one, yeah.
All right, we're on the last few minutes here, so we're gonna have to wrap it up.
Oh God. Okay. Shoot. Well, I want you to keep doing what you're doing, and if we ever. Would you allow us to come out and check that place out with you if we can ever make it?
If you guys came up here, I would totally take you up there.
Okay. Well, you got a deal. I'm going to start intending.
Preston, I will tell you, there's a book there. There's a book there.
It sounds like it.
I'll guarantee you, by the time if you guys were to come up here, and by the time you guys leave after the weekend or the week, however long you stay, Preston would already be in publishing.
Okay. I'm excited about this. Okay. We have to see, we're already going to Canada, but we're going all the way across on the other side. We're going to Shag Harbor. Okay. In October. And so that's, and then winter's hitting, and I don't want to come in the winter. No offense to you, but I don't want to trudge through no snow. No, I'm too old for that. I've done my snow trudging. No, but next, summer. Oh yeah. So, sounds like fun. I'm going to try to con Preston into us driving up with a camper.
Yeah, you'll have to con me.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me on your show, and a big thank you for wanting to talk about this. It's an interesting place, that's for sure.
Well, you need to keep doing it. Don't stop, and I can't wait to hear more about it. I really can't. I mean, you've leaked it out a little bit at the time for a while, and now you're really coming forward with it, and I'm happy that you're doing that. That's awesome. And,
and I don't think you can call yourself an amateur researcher anymore.
No, I think you're definitely working your way into it.
Anyone who can embrace all these different aspects, it's
right.
A plus in my book.
Knowledge enough to know what you're doing there. Yeah, that's totally cool. I mean,
well. We'll keep you posted on what's going on, because, like I said, we're going to be out there most weekends checking things out and trying to experiment a little bit with things. So if you have any ideas, let me know.
All right. Might have a couple, actually. Okay.
All right. Well, you want to give a shout out for Spaced Out Radio and any other?
Yeah, thank you. Our YouTube channel of Spaced Out Radio is, of course, Spaced Out Radio, where if you hit subscribe, ring that bell, you can scroll on down, and the videos that we put out for Flight 21 are in a section called Secrets of the Forest. We'd appreciate if you gave us a comment, if you have any ideas, or if you hear things. That's one thing that we're doing with our videos, guys, is we're putting them in so raw that if you hear things, we want to make you part of the investigation. And we've already had people tell us about where EVPs have been heard.
Nice. Wow. That's
yeah. Cool. So it is a kind of an audience participation type video. And email is info@spacedoutradio.com. And we could be heard at any major podcast network as well.
Absolutely.
Very cool. I love that you're including the audience. I had someone write to me there was this shadow walked by your bookcase. I had to look it up. It was a 5-foot tall shadow going from right across. Would not have known if not for the viewer.
Yeah, I know. We have stuff. We have, like I said, stuff walks around here all the time. And every now and then we have to shuffle everybody out and say, where are you going? And ask them to leave.
Now we're having an issue where the dog won't go to the back door.
Yeah.
Somebody's blocking her or something.
Blocking her, yeah. She just won't have
anything. The weirdest thing. She won't go.
She's sleeping in my closet now. My closet. I'm like, what are you doing? It's like, stop.
Yeah, we
So,
got stuff going on here.
mhm.
All right. Well, that was awesome, Dave. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. I love you guys. You guys do amazing work. Thank you for taking the time to have me on your show.
Awesome.
You're welcome. All right. And thank you guys for watching us. Special thanks to all of you guys who donated. I know there's probably a couple of you, but we really, really appreciate you guys so much taking your time out and enjoying our show on a Monday evening.
And remember, we're going to be in the chat. And Dave, you're welcome to show up on the night that we broadcast, because you might not be on the radio then, and you can like sit in the chat with us too. They're going to ask questions. Our people, a lot of the people who were in with you in chat are now on ours too. They kind of bob back and forth. So you might see people you even know there. Okay.
Yeah, and if you're not busy, feel free to pop in. I'll let you know when the show's airing.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate
right.
it. I'm going to go eat some dinner now.
Okay.
All right. Dolly, take us out.
Live from the beautiful city of New Orleans in Louisiana at the United Public Radio Network at 107.7 FM and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network at 105.3 FM. We're on Facebook, we're on Roku, we're on Rumble, and we are on YouTube. Everybody have a wonderful week. Mwah. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.